Hello, everyone. Hello. I'm really happy to be in contact with you throughout these YouTube videos. Hopefully, you guys are learning a lot from this, and we hope to cover everything, all the contents from our book as expected um, throughout these videos. Okay, so guys, let's get started with our FCE second class, second virtual class. Yes, and remember that last class we started working on Unit 8, which is called Common Ground. Remember that common ground, it's an expression that we use to refer to something that is a common basis for everyone. Okay, now before we get started, I must say that we have many things to cover. Okay, so let's go over some of today's activities. Okay, it's really important that you have your student book ready, your workbook ready, your FCE, the green book ready as well, and your notebooks to take any notes, to complete any exercises. Please have everything there on your desk to get ready to be ready to work. Okay, now the first thing that we're going to do today, we're going to check the workbook pages 86 and 87. Those activities were homework for you guys. Okay, so hopefully you have them ready. We're going to check them today with teacher Rafa. Now the other activity, we're also going to go over some remember that teacher Laurita assigned some vocabulary homework last class. We use the First for Schools book. If you look at this book, at the very back part of it, there's a vocabulary list of each practice test. Now, practice test 4 has some vocabulary words, and those are the ones that we're going to go over, okay? So teacher Laurita assigned that homework. We're going to check it with her today. And we also have a listening practice that we're going to do on your student book, so please have that ready. We have a grammar explanation, which I know you will love. It is about reported speech. So have everything ready, have your notebooks. Please remember everything that you know about reported speech. And today we're going to go over some new FCE level about regarding reported speech. Okay. Now we're also going to do grammar exercises, and we're going to finish with the First for Schools vocabulary practice. Okay, so guys, get ready. Today is a quite extensive class. We have many things to go over and to learn. Let's get started.
Well, hello guys. As I know how responsible you are, I'm here to help you check your homework. So, let's go ahead. 1. Review. Complete the sentences with these words: connect, get, have, join, make, pay, respond, and share. All of these are very simple words, so I think that everybody here knows their meaning. So let's go ahead. Number 1. Drivers get distracted by their cell phone. This is something very common every day. Number 2. The project is encouraging older people to connect on social media. Number 3. Why don't you ever respond to texts? Number 4. Users need to sign in to share photos from the album. Number 5. What point was he trying to make? Number 6. You need to pay attention during the debate. Number 7. Regularly make in unprofessional online forums. Number 8. Complain when the doctors don't have very good interpersonal skills. Okay, this is very simple, so I think that no one has any doubt at this part. Let's go ahead. Let's go with exercise number 2, that is, circle the option that does not form part of the collocation. In this case, for number 1, it would be a chat, because you can get a chat. You are in a chat or you participate in a chat, but you can get a chat. You can get a message, you can get distracted like some students in the class, but you can get a chat. Number 2, a message. You can connect a message. You can connect online or to social media or in a lot of things, but you can connect to a message. That's weird. Number 3. Photos. You can make connections or make a point, but you don't make photos, you take photos. So it's different. Number 4. Texts. You can post something in social media like a meme, a photograph, or a video, etc. But you can post text. Number 5. Face-to-face conversation or face-to-face skills, but you can have face-to-face someone by the phone because you're talking with that person, but you're not face-to-face with him. Number 6. My message out. Share it's, well, when you give someone something else. So you can share photos, you can share posts, but you can share my message out. So let's go ahead with number 3. Match this sentence helps. We need to sort. It's with letter D, it out. Number 2. The best response is to talk way. Number 3. They have a misunderstanding. This is something very common every day. Number 4. I feel really awkward about you. Number 5. He's made a negative comment. That is bad, guys. Just don't do it. Number 6. She didn't mean to offend you. As you can see here, guys, every sentence has to make sense with the other part. Let's go ahead with number 4. Are there phrases associated with positive or negative ways of communicating? Complete the table. Avoid discrimination, create an awkward silence, have a misunderstanding, sort something out, be offended, discriminate against, pay a compliment, or stereotype people. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and make an example for both of these. A positive association will be avoid the discrimination, because back there, discrimination, nobody cared about it, but right now it's something that is very present among us. Now, a negative association will be to be offended, because you feel offended when somebody does something bad to you, and it's normal to feel offended. So, going ahead with positive association will be pay a compliment. In this case, pay is not about money, guys. It's the right expression to say that you're making a compliment to someone else. Work it out. For example, another positive association will be that you need to work it out to achieve something. Let's go ahead with the negative association. Create an awkward silence. Well, I think that everybody has been in this situation when you're speaking with someone and then both of you stay quiet for a long time, and that it's a kind of an awkward silence. Discriminate against. As I said before, the discrimination is something that back there nobody cared about it, but right now we all know what is it and we try to avoid it, right? For the last one is to have a misunderstanding. That this is something very common when you can explain very well the things that happen and someone understands another thing and there you go with some trouble. Let's go ahead. Stereotype people. This is something very bad among us, guys, because stereotypes are something that you immediately think about someone, but it might be not true. Number 5. Choose the correct option to complete the sentences. The rules discriminate against foreign workers. Number 2. The teacher paid me a compliment. Guys, as I said back there, paid a compliment is not about money. It's the right expression, because in this one you can tell the teacher said me a compliment. It just sounds weird and it doesn't fit. In this case, it's paid. Number 3. He hinted we should go home. Hinted, it's a very weird word, and it's something new that we probably don't know, but the meaning of this word is insinuar. The meaning of hinted is insinuar, so let's go ahead with number 4. People are more conscious of racism nowadays. As I was saying back there, we are very conscious about racism today, because back there nobody cared about it. Number 5, she hasn't spoken to me since we had our misunderstanding. Number 6, the teacher's negative comments are discouraging him. Number 7, the best response is to ignore him. We all have been in this situation, guys, where you're fighting against somebody and you can win, or simply you can respond, and the best way to win is that you ignore him. Number 8, I didn't know what to say, and that there it was. An awkward silence. Let's go ahead. Number 6, cross out the mistake in each sentence and write the correct word. Let's go ahead with a little example for number 1. We tried to discourage him for going. In this case, the wrong word will be for, because you can discourage someone for going to something. It will be from going. Number 2, he always takes offend that what I say. It wouldn't be offend in this case, because it has to be in a verb, so it will be offense. Number 3, my initial react was to laugh. It will be my initial reaction. Number 4, I'm consciously of this situation. I am conscious of the situation. Number 5, she was very complimentary about at my work. Complimentary, it would be the right word. He's a stereotype actor. It would be a stereotypical actor, something that is very common. For number 7, it's an extension. Are the statements true or false? If you praise somebody, you're paying that person a compliment. That is true, because praise is a positive comment. A flattering comment will cause offense. That is false. Number 3, we pay tribute to people we admire. That is true. Guys, in this case, pay tribute is again like when you say pay a compliment, because we're not talking about money. We're talking about something like respect or stuff like that. Number 4, an insult is a positive comment. It's false, because I'm pretty sure that an insult will be never a positive comment. If you put someone off doing something, you're encouraging them. This is false, because if you put someone off, you're not encouraging them. You're not motivating him. Number 6, if someone compliments you and then you return the compliment, you say the same thing. Well, this is false, guys, because if you pay back the compliment, you don't have to say the same thing. Number 7, a backhanded compliment is offensive. This is true, because no one likes that some people talk at your back. And for the last exercise, I think this is the last one. It's another extension that you have to complete the sentences with the words in the box. So let's go ahead with number 1. They always. As I already said, we work in this part with pay tribute to well-respected actors in the Oscar. For example, Joaquin Phoenix, everybody paid tribute to him when he won the Oscar by playing the Joker. Number 2, sports people shouldn't insult their opponents during a game. Well, this is about respect more than anything, because in a competition you can insult your rivals. That is not okay. 3, I try to put him off leaving the country. Number 4, fans of Star Wars have so much enthusiasm for the movies. Number 5, she wanted to praise him for his hard work. As I said before, guys, praise is a positive comment. It's like motivate somebody. Number 6, people will often flatter you with false praise when they want something. This is different, guys. When you flatter someone, you're trying to motivate someone, but in a bad way. That's a bad decision to try, because when you flatter someone, it's different to make a compliment, to pay a compliment. Sorry. Number 7, I swallowed the insult and kept silent. Well, swallow it, you know that is when you eat something, but in this sense, it's a metaphor, because when someone insults you, sometimes the best way to avoid it is that you swallow the insult and you keep it silent. Like that, you end the conversation quickly. And the last one, I had delayed reaction to his insult. I got angry next day. Okay, guys, so this is everything for today. I hope you are alright, and have good luck with the next RSS with the future homeworks, okay? Goodbye.
Hello guys, it's good to talk to you. I hope you're doing well. We're going to begin checking the answers for the vocabulary part 1 session that you worked on last class. I hope you had no trouble, and well, if you did, let's just go over some of the vocabulary words. Right. I'm going to show you the summary of the answers for the chart that you were supposed to fill in last class. There's a column, remember, of vocabulary words, definition, parts of speech, and the sentence using the word. So, of course, I know you have your own sentences, but this is just an example of how to use each of the words that we have here. So what I did is I underlined the part of speech that each of the vocabulary words is, in order to make it easier for us to check. So let's go over it in this way. Now, if you want to go back to this chart, you can maybe press pause right now on the audio, and your screen will stay here, so you can check whichever answer you need. Great. Okay, guys. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the vocabulary words that are nouns as a part of speech in the sentence. So we already saw this example, which is decade. We saw it as an example of the previous session. So you know it's a period of 10 years, and the example is a terrible hurricane took place in this town 10 years ago or a decade ago. Then we have ecotourism. Remember that eco is short for ecological, or which just means that it's a green tourism. That would be a synonym: green tourism or sustainable tourism, a tourism that is friendly with the environment. So as you can see here, the definition is tourism that aims to be friendly to the environment, and the sentence, the Mapimi Reserve in Durango is a good place to do ecotourism. So basically it's just talking about, you know, as I said, an environmentally friendly or sustainable kind of tourism activity. Okay, moving on to number 4, we have luxury. So remember that this is just like in Spanish. It's very similar, and the definition is a great comfort and something which is a pleasant or pleasant to have, but it's not necessary. So maybe something that is just like extra in our lives. So maybe food or a house, basic housing would not be a luxury, but maybe a super expensive car, or maybe like a iPhone X that you guys I don't know, that you guys know about, or maybe something very fancy, something expensive, that would be considered a luxurious or luxury item or object. So the example here we have, it says only a minority of people live in luxury in Africa. Of course, because Africa is a very poor continent, and very few people, and people who are rich are very few in number, right? Great. All right, moving on to number 6, we have cotton. Remember that cotton, we saw this in class, it is a material from which we can make clothes, we can make backpacks, several kinds of objects. I just used the example of a shirt. It says my shirt is made of cotton and I wear it in the summer, because remember that cotton is is a fresh material because it is plant-based. So it's this white, beautiful plant that is grown in the fields, and it is then processed into different things, into textile. Okay, moving on to number 12, we have trend. So trend is a general way a situation is changing, and it just means it's like the flow of how things are done or are generated. And the example here, it says the fashion designer always follows the latest trends. So in this case, it's the latest tendencies. That would be a synonym for trend, the tendencies. Okay. For number 13, we have bungalow. So bungalow actually has two, it can be used in two ways. It can be a one-story house. A story is a floor. So it's a floor that is only a house that is only one floor high. It does not have two different floors, just one floor. Everything is on the same level. And the example, the bungalow is in the middle of the forest. Also, guys, bungalow can be used to refer to a cabin. For example, when you go to the forest or the woods, as in the example, you can say, "Oh, I'm going to a bungalow," or I'm going to stay in a bungalow, which is like a rustic house, kind of rustic. All right. Then we have number 15, which is income. Remember that income, we also saw this in class. It's the money that you earn. It's the money that you make. It's the salary that you're paid when you perform a specific job or when you have a specific profession. So it says, thanks to my promotion. Remember, promotion is to become, like, to have a better position in your job. So it's thanks to my promotion, my monthly income has increased, which is my monthly pay. The money that I get every month has increased. Okay, the next one we have resort. So resort is just a synonym for a holiday destination. It can also be a synonym for the word hotel. For example, there are some Disney resorts, which is a synonym of saying Disney hotels, or Disney themed parks. This where you can find the Disney castle, like the stereotypical Disney princess castle, and sort of like that. So we have the example of the sentence. It says the resort where we stayed at in Puerto Vallarta was very big. So it's just the vacationing spot or the holiday destination where you stayed at in Puerto Vallarta. Okay. And then we have the last one, which is benefit. Benefit is to take advantage. This is easy. We hope you can benefit from these online sessions. This is the example. All right, guys, now we're going to look at our three verbs that we had in this vocabulary session. So we have regard. It says to think about something in a certain way, which is to have an opinion about something, basically. So it says Sarah regards fighting as something pointless. So it's like, in Sarah's opinion, fighting is something pointless. Or, for example, Sarah considers fighting as something pointless. That would be also a synonym. Okay, then we have bleach. So bleach is actually, it can also be a noun, but in this case, it is used as a verb because of the way it is applied in the reading section of your book. So it's to make whiter. Okay, in this case, I'm using an example. It says, my son bleached his hair and resembled Justin Bieber. So bleach in this case is to make his hair whiter. So it just means to use peroxide to change his hair color into something lighter or in a lighter tone. Okay, then we have conserve, which is to save. And this is easy. It's just like in Spanish. We should try to conserve or to keep our cultural values would be a synonym. To conserve, to keep, or to preserve would be a synonym for conserve. Okay, moving on, we have 5 different adjectives. We have organically grown. This is a compound between, a compound adjective. We have grown. How is it grown? It is grown without chemicals. That's why it's organic, just like in Spanish. Very, very popular and common term nowadays. So it says these tomatoes are fresh and organically grown, which means that they didn't use pesticides or any substances additional to what the plant needed. Okay, moving on to costly. So costly is also an adjective, and it's a synonym for expensive. Okay, guys? It says an apartment in the Upper East Side is too expensive or too costly for us. We cannot afford it. We cannot pay for it. Okay, then we have high end. Guys, high end is an adjective that refers to, okay, so it talks about something that is aimed or that the objective is people with money or the rich. Okay, so let's look at the example. It says these speakers, which is like where we can play some music, for example, speakers, are definitely high-end technology. Okay, which means that they're like the top of the notch. Yeah, like top-notch technology or top of the line technology. I'm sorry. Okay, so they're like the best. Then we have unspoiled, which is natural or not damaged by human activity. So this island is so beautiful because it is not damaged. It is completely untouched, basically unspoiled. Okay. All right. Then we have unique, which is something that is, one of a kind. So this is quite simple. And then we have our last word, which is severely. This is our only adverb, guys. Remember that the adverbs are what describes a verb. So severely is a synonym of badly, terribly, horribly, severely, like extremely, for example. And it says my car was severely damaged in the accident. We can say extremely, we can say like hardly, no, not hardly, like terribly, for example. Terribly damaged in the accident. Okay, guys? All right, guys. Now, please check your answers and correct any mistakes that you may have had. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so let's continue. And I have a question for you guys. I want you to tell me, or to write down, I'm sorry, to take some notes on what do you think intercultural communication is. Okay, so if we separate these two words, we know that intercultural refers to different cultures to put together, right? And communication is the act of being able to express ideas or to make yourself understood in any form with other people, right? Now, let's look at I have some images for you guys, and I want you to tell me to think about what do you think intercultural communication means based on these images? So, pretty much, intercultural communication is when people from different cultures or countries try to communicate in one or the other's first language, right? So, the act of expressing yourself in your language or in your traditions to other cultures, right? Now, it means or it happens when people from different cultures or social groups interact, and it usually involves more than just language, right? Sometimes, most times, intercultural communication takes place in languages. Maybe here in Mexico we use a word, and in another country that word means something completely different, right? And that happens a lot. And when you go to other countries, you can make yourself a little bit misunderstood. You can make your opinion is not completely clear because of that. But in most cases, guys, intercultural communication does not only occur in languages, okay? So in what other situations is it necessary to be considerate of other cultures, I'm sorry. Imagine that someone comes from another country and they see us eating without a spoon, using a tortilla, instead of a spoon using a tortilla. How do you think that makes them feel? How do you think they feel when they watch us, overloading buses, right? It's different cultures that we have and all that is involved. Okay, so in what aspects do you think this has happened or has happened to you guys? Think about them and maybe make a list of them. Okay, now we're going to work in pairs. Well, here it's if you have your brother or your sister with you and they're with you in FCE class, it would be ideal for you to discuss this together. If not, think about them, write your ideas down. It says, what can cause communication to break down in these situations? What might you do if this happens and how can you avoid it? Okay, so how do you think communication can break down when greeting people? Imagine maybe people come to to San Luis Potosí, for example, right? And we use the Potosinazo with them. And in other places, people even shake their hands, they give each other a hug. And in San Luis Potosí, if we see our friends in the streets, we don't even say hi to them, right? So that's like a communication breakdown, something that does not work, right? If we go to another place, maybe they bend a little to express respect, and we don't do that here in Mexico, right? What about making plans? How do you think that can break down? Maybe using some expressions, right? Like we said with language, we use expressions that in other countries mean something completely different, and when we use them here, if someone else that speaks Spanish listens to us, they might think we're saying something completely different. Now, when ordering food, I think I told you, right, that I had a friend that once ordered catsup in London, and they wanted him, and they looked at him as if he was a bit strange. Like, how do you want to eat a catsup? And finally, he made himself understood, asking for ketchup instead of catsup, right? Catsup is something completely different in English. And then trying to get somebody's attention. So that can also be a break, or we can also have a breakdown when you say something or you act in certain way to catch someone's attention, and that person is totally confused with your reactions or with your action, right? Okay, so what we're going to do, guys, we're going to listen to an interview about travel and intercultural communication. And I want you to tell me what is normal for people from these countries that may be different somewhere else. So we have China, Germany, Russia, and the US. Think about them, listen, please, and take some notes.
Welcome to Travel Chat. I'm here with Stacy, who's lived in several countries because of her parents' work. How many places is it, Stacy?
5 now, if you include the USA.
Quite a variety. So today we're talking about intercultural communication, or should I say miscommunication?
Yeah.
And I think your first example's from Germany.
Yeah, so when I was first there, I was leaving school one day and I asked a German girl from my class if she was going to the train station. And she replied, of course. And I thought, that's rude. Because to me, of course means like, obviously. And so she made me feel like I was stupid for asking.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we walked on a bit in silence, and then I made an excuse. I said I'd forgotten something and had to go back to school.
Awkward.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, that evening I told my dad what had happened, and he said that I shouldn't be so sensitive, because in German the word for of course is also used for yes or absolutely.
In other words, the girl was actually really pleased to go with you.
Yeah, exactly. Silly of me to think otherwise, I guess.
But it does make you realize how easily misunderstandings come about when you make certain assumptions.
Yeah. So I know Americans who were in Russia, and they thought Russian shop assistants were a bit rude because they didn't smile or ask how you were. However, a Russian friend told me their parents kind of discouraged them from smiling at strangers because it is seen as a sign of dishonesty. There's also a Russian proverb that says laughter for no reason is a sign of stupidity.
Not a good message if you're trying to sell something.
Exactly. But Russians do smile at people they know. In fact, I'd say they're really warm and friendly. I also have a Korean friend who went to the USA, and she wondered why people asked, "How are you doing?" But then when she replied, actually told them how she was, people gave her strange looks. But of course, to them, they'd only said hi, so all they expected was hello in return.
Yeah, and I guess you could take offense when that happens and say people are insincere.
Exactly. But it's like in Chinese, sometimes people from China ask, I mean literally, have you eaten, instead of saying hello. But it doesn't mean they're offering you food at that moment.
Although they certainly will at other times. I've heard international companies often give lessons to avoid these breakdowns in communication. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, not really. I just talked to people, and as you go on, you learn not to assume what you do or say is normal. There's always an alternative interpretation.
That's a great lesson, because miscommunication happens in all walks of life. Have you found your intercultural experience has helped with other relationships?
For sure. Although I do still argue with my mum sometimes.
Okay, so now that you have listened to the audio, I want us to discuss what was said about each of these countries. It says what is normal for people from these countries that may be different elsewhere. Okay, for example, in China, instead of saying hello, what expression do they use? They use have you eaten, right? And they don't exactly ask you like if you have eaten, but it's a way of saying like hello. Like here in Mexico we ask you how are you, right? And we don't, it's something, an expression, a polite expression that we use, but we don't want like to hear word like exactly how you guys feel. Just like how are you? Oh, good, thanks. That's it, right? Like how are you? That's it. Now what about Germany? It says in Germany people instead of using yes, they use of course, right? Maybe even in English, of course means the same as yes, right? But it's emphasizing that it's yes. Okay, in Russia, Russian children are motivated to not smile to strangers. So maybe when you go to the supermarket and you smile to the cashier and the cashier doesn't smile back at you, you think he or she is rude. But in Russia, that's how they are. They don't smile at strangers. And in the US, we use the same expression as in Spanish, right? How are you doing? Instead of saying hi, it's like, hey, how are you? Instead of saying hello, right? So those are like the expressions, okay? Guys, if you need to, you can go back and play the audio again. But in this case, we're going to now listen to the, if you want to, you can go back and play the audio again. And we're going to complete this exercise. Number 10 says, according to the conversation, are the sentences true, false, or not stated? We have to listen again and check your answers. Okay, so for example, number 1, we have Stacy's parents are diplomats. Okay, so is that true, false, or not stated? It is not stated, right? They don't even mention, well, they mention their parents, her parents, but we do not know what they do. Okay, so if you need to, go back and listen again, and we'll continue from there. Now, for number 2, it says a German girl who Stacy spoke to was deliberately rude to her. That is false, right? In Germany, that's the way they are. Instead of saying just like yes, they use a word of course, and Stacy thought that the girl was being rude to her, but not necessarily. She was using her culture. Number 3, if a Russian person smiles at another Russian they don't know, they may be seen as untrustworthy. That is true, right? Because they don't smile at strangers. So if you smile at a stranger, they might think something completely different. Number 4, Stacy's Korean friend was confused by people in the United States, asking how are you doing? So that is also true, right? He didn't know if to tell him if he was good or all that, right? They just wanted to say hello. Number 5, in Chinese, I suppose they want to say in China. Oh no, in Chinese, the language, a common greeting can be translated as have you eaten. That is true, right? Instead of saying hello, they say, have you eaten? And number 6, intercultural communication courses are effective. That is not stated, right? They don't even talk about that. Okay? Excellent. Very good, guys. Okay, guys, so moving on, we're going to start talking about reported speech. As you already know, reported speech is one of the most complicated topics, because in order to be able to respond correctly to all of these activities, we have to know all the grammar structures. We have to know how to use them correctly, okay? So let's get started. And it says, look at the grammar box and try to complete the sentences. Listen again and check your ideas. So if it's necessary, you can go back to the audio played previously so that you can answer this correctly. Now that you have listened to it again, we're going to answer it together. So remember, we listened to a conversation between a girl talking about the different types of communication in intercultural context, right? So she talks about what she has felt talking to different people from around the world, or the different cultures. Let's look at an example letter A. It says, I asked a German girl from my class if she blanked the train station. So what did she do? She asked a German girl from her class if she was going to the train station. Remember that now we're reporting something that was previously said, okay? For example, maybe at that moment, she didn't say, where was you going, right? She says, where are you going? But now, since she's talking about something that happened in the past, she has to change that expression to the past, right? Now, for letter B, it says, and I thought that blank rule. So now we have to pay close attention to this, because these phrases, or the phrase that we need to complete, is inside a quotation mark. Okay, so that means that it's stating or using the exact same words. Okay, so, and I thought that's Ruth, or that is Ruth. In this case, we do not need to modify the verb because it's inside the quotation marks. Now the next one, and I said I blank something and I blank go back to school. So in this case, she uses, if you go back to the audio, she says, oh, I forgot something. But that will be what she told the other person. But now that she's reporting it, she has to use the past of past simple. What is the past of past simple? Past perfect, right? So I said I'd forgotten something and had to go back to school. Now for letter D, that evening I told my dad what had happened and he said that I blank be so sensitive. Okay, so we already have the verb, which is said, and in this case, if you're giving an advice, the advice word stays exactly the same. So it would be that I shouldn't be so sensitive. Now for letter E, a Russian friend told me their parents kind of blanked them from smiling at strangers. So we're already using there a reporting verb, which is told. In that case, we only use the verb in simple form, so that in past simple form. So that would be kind of discourage them from smiling at strangers. And then we have there a Russian proverb that says laughter for no reason is a sign of stupidity. So there's a Russian proverb, there is, right? Okay, because it's something that still happens, right? Something that is generally true, something that is still true nowadays. Okay, so the verb stays the same. Okay, now if we go a little bit back into some grammar topics, just as a reminder, remember that reported speech, it's something that we all love, that we all love, and that it's kind of simple. But in order to be considered simple, we need to master all the grammar structures. Now, it is important to recap that reported speech is used to tell something that was previously said. And let's remember that using reported speech, we have two types of speech: direct speech and indirect speech. In other words, indirect speech, it's best known as reported speech. Okay, so direct speech would be, I love going to school. And indirect speech would be, he said that he loved going to school, right? So direct speech is something that is said at the moment, or in first person, let's say. And indirect speech or reported speech, it's something, it's an expression that is used to express something that was said by someone else. Okay, so let's look at some examples. The first example we have is this image, and it says, I like Peter. And then someone else goes and tells the other person, hey, she said she liked you, right? Now we have another example. It says, I play baseball with my friends. What did she say? She said that she plays baseball with her friends. Now, in this case, look at the example, guys. All the verbs are modified. They're changed one tense to the past, right? But if it's something that is generally true, in this case, the girl says that she plays baseball. I play baseball with my friends. It's something that is true. So the verb stays in present, that she plays baseball with her friends. Remember that also the pronouns have to change, right? Now, for example, this one, all the children have been saved. And then the news reporter says, a fireman said that all the children had been saved. So in this case, we have present perfect. It changes to past perfect, right? Excellent. Now, if you need to pause the video here, look at the examples, they're kind of simple, okay? Now, this is something that might scare you a bit, but let's look at it, okay? Now, remember that all the tenses changes in reported speech. All of the tenses change in reported speech, I'm sorry. So, we have two types of speech. We have direct speech and reported speech. First of all, if our tense is present simple, in reported speech is going to change to past simple. She always wears a coat. We can change it to, he said that she always wore a coat, okay? Or we can say that she always wears a coat because it's something that is generally true, okay? Now, present continuous changes to past continuous. I'm looking for my keys. She said that she was looking for her keys. And remember that is optional. It's the same to say she said she was looking for her keys than to say she said that she was looking for her keys. You decide if you want to use it or not. Now we have present perfect, which changes to past perfect. She has written 3 letters for her friend. He said that she had written 3 letters for her friend. Past simple changes to past perfect as well. My friend gave me a bar of chocolate. He said that his friend had given him a bar of chocolate. Be careful with that. Now, will changes to would. I will finish my report in 2 days. Or in reported speech, it will be, he said that he would finish his report in 2 days. Now, can changes to could, the past. I can speak English. She said that she could speak English. May changes to might. I may invite him to dinner. He said that she might invite them to dinner. Must, I must go to the bank and get some money. She said that she had to go to the bank and get some money. Have to, I have to submit this assignment by 3 p.m. tomorrow. He said that she had to submit the assignment by 3 p.m. tomorrow. So have to changes to had to, and must to had to as well. Okay. Now, if you need to take some notes on the grammar changes, and we also have like this that can be kind of easier to assimilate. We have present simple changes to past simple, present continuous to past continuous, present perfect to past perfect, past simple to past perfect to past perfect, will to would, and can to could. Okay. Now that is not the only thing that changes. Okay, so be careful. Now remember that there's also time phrases that we have to change. For example, if we say today, I'm going to the grocery store today. If you report that sentence, you do not say, he said that today he was going to go to the supermarket. No, it changes to, he said that he was going to go to the supermarket that day. Tonight changes to that night. This morning to that morning. For future, tomorrow changes to the next day. So it says, I won't come tomorrow. Patrice said that she wouldn't come the next day. Not tomorrow, but the next day, right? Yesterday changes to the day before. I was in the garden yesterday. Patrice said that he had been in the garden the day before. The day before he told me, not the day before I'm telling you, right? Last week changes to the week before. Okay, so I went to Bali last week. Patrice said that she had gone to Bali the week before. Or for future, next week changes to the following week. Okay, Patrice said she's going to Bali next week, or Patrice said that she was going to Bali the following week. Okay. So be careful with time expressions, time phrases as well, guys, because this can be the most, like the trickiest part of changing to reported speech. Okay, now moving on, I told you that we also had to change the pronouns, right? So in direct speech, if I say I, it needs to change to he or she in reported speech. Like we can say, he said, I like music. He said that he likes music, or he said that he likes music. Okay, we changes to they. You can change to I, she, he, we, they. For example, John, can you see me? John asked me if I could see him. They stays the same as they. She said they have invited us. She said that they have been invited them. They had invited them. I'm sorry. She and she, so he said she works in an office. He said that she worked in an office. He to he, they said he does not have the necessary qualifications. They say that he didn't have the necessary qualifications. And it to it, they said it is raining. They said that it was raining. Okay. Now we have some direct questions and reported questions. For example, if it says, she said, do you like coffee? Now, the reporting verb in this case has to change. Now we say, she asked if I liked coffee. Okay. The direct question, he said, where do you live? The reported question, he asked me where I lived. Okay. So if you're going to report a question, we do not use a question mark. We have to change it to a sentence form. Okay. So, be careful with that. She asked if I liked coffee instead of saying, do you like coffee? Okay. Or where do you live? He asked me where I lived. Okay. So change the structure of the sentence, of the question, to change it to a normal statement. Okay. Excellent. Now, this is like the basic of reported speech. But since we now are working on the Cambridge English test, on the FCE exam, we have to land all this grammar into an FCE level. Okay, so please open up your or move on to your student book on page 142, please. 142. On page 142, let's go over the statements, please. It says, when an anecdote or story is told, what people said is often reported. This can be done with direct speech. For example, it says, she said, I love you. And then he said, will you marry me? That's direct speech. Indirect speech would be, she said she loved him, and then he then asked her if she'd marry him. Okay? Because the will changes to would, right? Now we can also have a mixture of the two. She said, I love you, and then he asked if she'd marry him. So we have three types of speech. We can use a sentence that only has direct speech, a sentence that only uses indirect speech, or a sentence that mixes both types of speech, direct or indirect speech, like that third example. She said, I love you, that is in direct speech, and then he asked if she would marry him, that is in reported speech. So you have to be careful with this, guys. You have to be able to identify which is which, okay? So it says, when reporting with indirect speech, follow the normal rules of tenses within a story. This often involves a tense backshift from direct speech. So like I told you previously, we just move back one tense. Look at the direct and indirect speech used to report statements about. So in this case, we can report different types of statements. First of all, it says a situation or action at the time it was said or thought. Okay, so it says, I said I needed to go back to school. I need to go back to school. So in reported speech, that would mean I said I needed to go back to school. The verb changes, right? One tense to the back. And then we have an action in progress at the time it was said. She said, I'm going to the station. So in this case, it would be, she said she was going to the station. Present continuous changes to past continuous. Then we have an action further back in time before it was said. He said, I've forgotten my money. So it's present perfect changes to past perfect. He told me he'd forgotten his money. He had forgotten his money. Then we have a plan or prediction for the future at the time it was said. So I asked and they said, we'll try. Remember that will changes to would. So they said they would try. Now guys, I think that's pretty much what we went over a couple of minutes ago. So hopefully that's pretty much clear. Now, it says when the statement being reported is still true, present and other tenses can be used as they apply to now. So when something is still true, is still generally true, the verb may stay the same. For example, it says Miriam told me to tell you she'll be late. So that means that she's not here yet, so she still will be late. He told me, so that's it, right? If you meet at a party, let's say, and someone tells you, hey, please tell them that I'm going to arrive late. Oh, you go and say, oh, she told me to tell you that she was going or that she will be late, right? Now, we have, he told me he's never had tea. So as far as I know, he still hasn't had tea. Okay. Now, when correcting a misunderstanding, the backshift is preferred because the misunderstanding is no longer true, but it's not essential. Okay. So there's no need to go back one shift if you're correcting a misunderstanding because you're still not sure if it's essential or not. Okay. For example, it says, hey, we're meeting at 10. I thought we were meeting at 11. Okay, but it's not necessary to correct that misunderstanding, right? So there's no need. Now, in indirect reporting questions, the normal word order of a statement is used. So like I told you, when we report a question, the question changes to a statement, okay? So I said, what are you doing here? If it's a question, the reporting verb changes to ask, right? So I asked her, what was she doing here? So remember, guys, we have the question word, and then we have the pronoun, and then we have the verb, okay? I asked her, well, what she was doing there, okay? Now, I thought, why did you ask that? So I wondered why she asked me that, okay? She said, do you need any help? She asked if I needed any help. Remember that when what was said is reported, different words must be used for times or places. If what is being reported has finished, it's no longer true and or was in a different place. So the time expressions, like I told you, right? They said, can we wait until tomorrow? They asked if they could wait until the next day. He said, I talked to her yesterday. He said he talked to you the day before. So yesterday changes to the day before. Then we have, I told them I was here last Tuesday. So I told them I had been there the previous Tuesday. Excellent. And other useful time phrases for reporting. Today changes to that day, now to immediately, now and immediately to at that moment or right away, tomorrow, the next week, the following week, and last week, the week before, or the previous week. Excellent. So this is something that we already went over in the previous slides. Please, if you need to, maybe you can take some notes on all of this, summarize a little bit so that you can have like all the ideas in a simple form, okay? But now, guys, it's time to work. As you know, after the grammar explanation, it's time for you to work. So, on page 143, it says to choose the correct option, okay? So we're going to do the first two together, and then we're going to give you a couple of minutes to work, and then we'll check together, okay? So, it says, a few years ago, a Chinese friend of my parents asked if I want or if I wanted to visit. So that's pretty much simple, right? That's easy. So a few years ago, we're talking about the past. A Chinese friend of my parent asked if I wanted to visit the following summer or this summer to spend time with their daughter. So the following summer, right? The following summer. Excellent. Because he was asking him something in the past about something that was going to happen in the future. Okay. Now, guys, take a couple of minutes. Please pause the video. And once you finish this assignment, we can come back to play the video again, and we'll check together. Excellent. So let's continue. It says the following summer to spend time with their daughter, who was my age. It was a great opportunity, so I agreed to go. I had to fill out a long visa application. My father and I took it to the Chinese embassy, and they told us to come back next week or the next week. The next week, right? Because it's reporting something that was said that was going to happen in the future. When we went back, there was a long line for some reason. My dad explained to the security people that we had been here or there, that we had been there the previous week or last week, the previous week, and we were just picking up a visa. But he was told that we have to or had to line up like everyone else. So we stood there and started chatting with the man in front of us. He asked my dad where I was or where was I going. Where I was. And it turned out that it was the same place where I was going, And it turned out that it was the same place where he lived. What, where, or what are you doing there? What are you doing there, right? He asked. My dad told him I was going to or I will stay with a friend of his from college. I was going to stay with a friend of his from college. Then the man asked, what college? When my dad told him, the man said one of his best friends had been or be had been at the same college a few years before. He said his friend's name, and it was actually my dad's friend too. It was an amazing coincidence. Okay, so as you see, guys, there's nothing, this is not so complicated. It's just a matter of reading things carefully, right? Okay, so moving on to exercise number 2, it says to complete the story with the verbs in parentheses and the correct modals verb forms or tenses. Okay, so this is a mixture of all the different activities or the different explanation that we saw previously. So let's look. It says, we're going to do the first two together and then you guys will be given some time to work. So it says, yesterday I was trying to get to sleep when I heard my dog barking. I got up and my dog was there with some paper in his mouth. I told him, let it go. So if you're giving an instruction, you tell someone to let it go. I pulled and a piece of paper tore. I suddenly realized it was my math homework and asked my mom, blank, and take a look. So the correct answer would be to come. You're also asking, it's like an order, okay? Okay guys, so please continue. It takes a couple of minutes to work on this. Read them carefully and we'll check together. Okay, so let's continue. When she saw what had happened, she just laughed. I said it be not funny, so that changes to the past of be wasn't funny. And I have to changes to had to. I would have to do it all over again, okay? Or I had to do it all over again. Well, it's because in this case, guys, you tell your mom, I will have to do it, okay? So that's why we use would. Now, but my mom said it blank too late. It was too late. She promised she write a note to the teacher. So if your mom tells you probably, she says, I will write a note to the teacher, right? So it changes to, she would write a note to the teacher in the morning and said, I not worry. So mom says, hey, don't worry. I shouldn't worry. It's recommending you something. However, the next morning, my mom got a call from work before I got up. They told her someone call in sick. So if they tell you, if they use past, someone called in sick, so past simple changes to past perfect. Someone had called in sick and asked her if she, when someone asks you something, can you come? So if she could or would go in early. She completely forgot about the note. So of course, in my math class, when the teacher asked why so if someone tells you, why didn't you do your homework? That's past simple. Past simple changes to past perfect. Why I hadn't done my homework and I explained. He didn't believe me. His exact words were, do you? Exact words, which means we're using quotation marks. Do you think I was born yesterday? But I swear that be changes to was exactly what happened. Excellent. So any questions? Hopefully everything is clear. Hopefully everything is simple. And let's continue. Moving back to student book page 94, remember we have already completed exercise number 11. So on exercise number 12, it says to match the sentences in the grammar box with these points, okay? Now, let's look at the grammar rules that we have there, and we will have to match them to the example sentences, okay? So number 1 says, the sentence includes the actual words that were spoken or thought. So which of those sentences includes the sentences include the actual words? It's letter B, right? Because it uses quotation marks. Then we have number 2. The sentence includes advice or instruction the speaker was given. So that would be letter D. The advice is that I shouldn't be so sensitive. Number 3, the sentence includes a question or plan about an action in progress at the time. So that would be letter A, right? If she was going, the plan is if she was going to the train station. Number 4, the sentence includes a statement about a previous action and consequence. So that would be in letter C, right? So the previous action is that she forgot something, and the consequence that she had to go back to school. Number 5, so that would be letter C, right? Number 5, the sentence includes a statement about something which is still generally true. So that would be letter E, because parents discourage children to speak to strangers, to smile to strangers, because that's a Russian proverb. There's a Russian proverb that says laughter for no reason is a sign of stupidity. Excellent. Okay, guys, now moving on to page 95 on exercise number 14, it says to complete the responses to the statements that are correcting misunderstandings. For example, we have number 1, it says we're meeting on Tuesday. Really? I thought you said we blank on Thursday. So it's correcting the misunderstanding in reported speech. So the in letter A, the verb we have is are, where we're meeting on Tuesday. So the verb is are. In past, that would be where. So if we have present continuous, that would be past continuous. We were meeting on Tuesday, right? Excellent. Let's do number 2 together. It says, I got a B on my science essay. Oh, that's pretty good. I thought you said you blank a D. That you, the past of got, it's in past simple, so it changes to past perfect. That would be had gotten. Okay, good. Guys, we're going to give you a couple of minutes to answer 3, 4, 5, and 6. Please pause the video while you work, and once you finish, come back and check your answers. Okay, so let's continue. Number 3, it says, I'm interested in seeing the new Star Wars movie. Really? I thought you told me you blank interested. So the verb is am, right? So I thought you told me you. It's correcting the misunderstanding, so that positive changes to negative. That would be weren't interested. Number 4, I'll bring you all the stuff you need next week. You don't have it. I thought you. So it says, I'll bring you, that's future continuous, so they will have to be past continuous, that would be, we're bringing it today. Number 5, I'm going to my dance class later. I didn't know you dancing. How long have you been doing that? So going, I didn't know you. We cannot say you were going dancing because that's a previous plan. In this case, it's an action that happened, so that you went dancing. Number 6, we have to leave at 11 o'clock. I thought we, the verb is have, so the past of have would be, we have to leave at 12 o'clock. Excellent. Okay, guys, so now, what you love, we're going to go over your homework assignment, okay? So please open up your workbook, open page 89. And on page 89, looking at exercise number 14, it says to read the statements and choose the correct option to complete the sentences, okay? So let's go ahead and do a couple together. Number 1 says, Caitlin, Americans are very, very friendly. Sometimes it seems that they're too friendly. She answered that Americans were, are, or will be very friendly, and that sometimes they're too friendly. So how would be the reported speech for that? That if the verb in present is are, we need to use. She answered that Americans are very friendly. Why? Because it's something that is generally true, right? Be careful with that. Number 2, Yui. There is public transportation in most American cities, but not in smaller towns. So she advised that most American cities have had or would have public transportation, but not smaller towns. So that one also stays in present because it's talking about something that is true, that is generally true, or still true now. Remember that. Now, for number exercise, you will have to complete the rest, numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, for an exercise number 15, it says to complete the sentences with the correct forms of the verbs in parentheses. Let's do number 1 and number 2 together. It says, read these travelers' comments on visiting Peru. Museum lover commented that while in Lima, he blank a lot of great museums. So, he visited. What about the next one? Foodie67 added that Inca ruins blank the most interesting he'd ever seen. So we just change it to past, where. Okay, so please go ahead and complete the rest. And for number 16, it says put the words in the correct order to create reported speech questions. Okay, so now remember these are questions. We have Jen asked if was funny for making there a championship faces. So the correct answer would be Jens asked if there was a championship for making funny faces. If there was. Number 2, Monica asked whether Turkey camel wrestling in there was. So Monica asked whether there was a camel wrestling in Turkey. Okay? Okay, guys. So please take your time and complete those activities. Remember, we're going to check them on the next video.
Hello again, students. Good to see you. Hope you're doing really well and staying at home. Okay, guys, so continuing on the vocabulary part 2 of our practice test number 4. Just a reminder. Okay, so these are the second 18 words that compose the 36 words for which are part of the vocabulary for reading part 1 of your First for Schools Green Book. So pay attention and let's begin. Okay, repeat after me. Trekking, backpacking, purpose, habitat, horn, hotelier, impact, neutralize, retain, small scale, measure, reduce, reverse, survival, cater for, undisturbed, dump, seek. Right, guys, now we have to work on this following activity, which is to fill in the blanks with the correct vocabulary word. So we have our list of our first 9 words, and then we have a series of sentences. So let's look at the first one. Bears live in a beautiful and pristine, what is the correct answer here? In Asia. The correct answer is habitat. So bears live in a beautiful and pristine habitat in Asia. We crossed out the word habitat. Please continue and fill in the rest. Okay, guys, here we have match the vocabulary word with the best definition. So it is the same thing that we did last class, just in a different dynamic or format. So we have the list of vocabulary words of the following 9 vocabulary words, and we have the definitions. For example, number 1, which is trekking. So the correct definition is walking long distances in the countryside, and it is a noun. Moving on, we have the following 9 words from number 28 to number 36, and we also have a list of sentences. So let's look at the first one. Do you know where I can the trash? The correct answer in this case is dump. So let's cross out dump and complete the rest. Okay, now we have to match those words with their definitions again. So let's look at number 28, small scale, and we have small in size, which is an adjective. That is the definition. Small scale. For example, a small scale company or a small scale business, which is just a small in size. Okay, guys, now moving on to our last activity for today. We have to write a short story using the following vocabulary words. Remember that there is no limit, either minimum or maximum for the number of words that you can use, as long as all the words that we have here on the screen are included. We have an example that we have an example written for you, so you can see, so you can give yourself an idea of what we expect. So let's look at let's start reading together. It says, last week my friends and I went trekking in the woods nearby because we were seeking some peace and quiet. We sat down to have some lunch and dumped the organic leftovers on some bushes. We then walked to our car and got on, and my friend started driving in reverse because it was the only way to get back onto the highway since the police was retaining the cars that were trying to take a different route. One of my friends was in a hurry because she said she had to cater for her grandmother. Okay, guys? Right. So we expect something similar to this. And remember, this all has to be in your FCE notebook, all of these exercises. So you can please either print them or bring them in a handwritten format. Thank you.
Okay, guys, so this is the end of today's class. I really hope that everyone is able to stay home. Please stay home, complete all the assignments that we ask for you to do, and stay tuned for next class on the next FCE video that we're going to upload to this channel. Okay, stay safe and stay home. Goodbye.